Next up, we've got a band called the Smithfield RSL Pipes and Drums. Smithfield's a suburb of Sydney, and they're a relatively new band. Their tartan is the Campbell of Argyll. Their pipe major is Tristan Wilson, and their pipe sergeant is Ali Adams. Today they'll be playing for you Pipe Major Willie Gray's Farewell, Captain Campbell, and Colonel MacLeod. Now quickly, before they head out, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the respective sponsors that have contributed to the event to make it what it is today. We've got the Scottish Accessories Shop from here in Sydney, Highland Titles, Capital Honda in Canberra. So if you're looking for a new car, you know to go to Capital Honda. We've also got, and they're actually visiting here today, we've got St. Kilda Retail. That's Doug and Jeff Manger from way up in Booville, Queensland, who have driven all the way down here to support the event. Also, interestingly, they've donated a significant amount of the prize money for Grade 3. We'll hopefully have a chance to speak to them shortly. We've got Bent Spoke Brewing Company. They've actually got a beer here today called Blow Your Bagpipe. So hopefully everyone around here will be blowing some bagpipes shortly. We've also got the Kilted Van here. They've actually got haggis sliders, I believe, or at least I know that they're known for selling haggis here in Canberra. Also of important note is Pro Bills Australia. The director, Phil Weber, is a bass drummer with the Canberra Burns Club No. 2 band, and he's actually donated, on behalf of his company, the entire prize money for the Grade 2 contest. That's in excess of $5,000 prize money that Phil and Pro Bills has contributed to the event. Also of important note is Actu, the local utility provider who has considerably contributed to this event today. I'd also like to mention a special mention to screencraft.com.au, who has contributed their time today to live stream this to you guys all over the world today. So that's screencraft.com.au for your live stream needs in Australia and potentially abroad. Those are the guys to go to. So just a review. Today we've got 11 bands across 3 grades, 5 in Grade 4, 2 in Grade 3, and 4 in Grade 2. For the live stream, I think it would be important to note that the Facebook page at Canberra College PD, that's at canberracollege.pd. It would be great if you could get out there and share the link to this live stream with all your friends today. That's Canberra College PD on Facebook or on Twitter at Canberra CPD or Canberra College of Piping and Drumming. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow, the Canberra College of Piping and Drumming will be hosting the ACT Solo Drumming Championships and working in partnership with Pipe Bands Australia to host the Australian Solo Drumming Championships at the Australian War Memorial starting around 9:30 a.m. So get out there to the Australia War Memorial if you're in Canberra or driving through to take part in the ACT Solo Drumming Championship and Australia National Solo Drumming Championship in conjunction with Pipe Bands Australia. Just some quick notes about the Highland Gathering here in Canberra. The Canberra College of Piping and Drumming held its inaugural gathering in 2011. The 2011 event attracted around 3,000 people. Heartened by this success, they decided to make the gathering an annual event, and the event has steadily grown ever since. For the 2013 event, they decided to add Highland Dancing, or a Highland Dancing Championship, and in 2014, they added a solo piping and drumming competition on the Sunday, hosted at the Australian War Memorial, which I've just spoken about. So that's has since evolved into the Australian Solo Drumming Championship, I think for the next 3 events. The 2016 event attracted around 7,000 spectators, and this year's event is shaping up even stronger than last year with, as I said, 11 bands competing for the ACT Pipe Band Champion title, and we only had 6 bands here last year. So that's massive growth for us here at the Canberra Gathering, and especially for the event as a whole. Today's event features bands from Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney, so that's exciting. It's very rare in Australia given the geography, to see this many bands from such far corners of the country coming together for this event, or any event for that matter, outside of the Australian Championships. There's 60 Highland dancers here today. There's 60 stall holders, 20 clan tents. If you want to reclaim some of your Scottish ancestry, that's certainly the place to go. We've got Scottish heavy athletics, like caber tossing, lifting of the stones, etc. by the Tartan Warriors, Rural Fire Brigade, and of course it's free entry here today. Please put your hands together for the Smithfield Pipe Band.
Pop the drums, we'll reform. Quick, march.
Next up, we've got the Canberra Burns Club number 2 band from right here in the capital of Australia, Canberra. Their tartan is the Stuart Tartan, Pipe Major Ian Crothers, Drum Sergeant Heath Nightingale. They'll be playing for you today, Terabas, Molly Connell, and Molly on the Shore. Could you please put your hands together for Canberra Burns Club number 2 band. with Carrie Flynn from the Canberra Burns Club number 2 band. And what I find really intriguing about Carrie is not only is she a number 1 fan and supporter of the college and the Burns Club, 2 of our big supporters today, she's also a black body karateist.
Black belt?
Black belt.
In karate, yeah.
In karate. Carrie, how do you balance playing in the number 2 band and being a world champion?
It's pretty easy. You just devote your time to both.
Unbelievable. Anyways, you enjoy the performance today?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I love the crowd. It's a great crowd, beautiful weather. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the biggest crowds I think we've ever had at a pipe band championship here in Australia, at least for the last 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
But I can't thank you enough for being part of this today, and thanks for your support of the college and the Burns Club.
Okay, thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, Carrie. Next up, we've got a band called Sydney Thistle Highland Pipe Band. Now, what makes Sydney Thistle really interesting is that not only are they a great supporter of the Canberra Gathering, but they're also possibly one of the oldest pipe bands in Sydney. They've won a number of Aussie titles in the top grade, so in grade 1. Today we're only going as high as grade 2, but back in the day, Sydney Thistle was actually a top grade 1 band, and they won a ton of Aussie titles back in the 1960s. But they've survived ever since throughout all the various grades, and they're here today, once again as a supporter of the Burns Club Highland Gathering. They've been consistent band in the prizes ever since across the various grades. Their tartan is the Farquharson. Their pipe major is Matthew McNeil. Their drum sergeant is Ross Colbert. And today they'll be playing for you Glenn Castle. I think that's how you say it. Never sounds the same with my dialect. Cat Lodge and Callum Ian. Now, a few things that might be interesting to note today is that we've actually got 3 judges out there today. So for the grade 4 event, they're going to come out and play something called the March Strathspey and Reel, which is 3 traditional types of tunes, 4 parts each, that involve all kinds of complexities in terms of expression, phrasing, accompaniment from the snare section, the bass and tenor drumming. But what makes it really interesting is that we've actually got 3 of the top pipers and drummers in the world adjudicating the event. So in this arena right now, in the March Strathspey and Reel, we've actually got Ainsley Hart on pipes, and Ainsley is the current Pipe Band's New South Wales president. He's the piping director at Knox Grammar. And Knox Grammar has a juvenile and novice juvenile pipe band program, and they come to Scotland every couple of years to compete in the World Pipe Band Championships and various other functions, including, I believe, the Edinburgh Tattoo. Ainsley is also big into triathlons, and he actually owns a bike shop in Sydney, I'm told. But next to Ainsley, we've actually got probably the most successful pipe band snare drummer of all time, Mr. Jim Kilpatrick, MBE. And for those of you that don't know, MBE stands for Member of the British Empire, which is a title given to you by Queen Elizabeth herself. Jim is actually a 16-time world solo champion, and he actually took over the famous Shots and Dykehead Drum Corps in 1986. Since joining Shots, he's actually won 69 drum corps championships as lead drummer. That's massive. I think that's absolutely at least a record that's certainly unbeatable, at least in our present day, which involves 17 world drum corps championships, 12 Scottish, 14 British, 11 European, and 1 United Kingdom, and 14 Cowell championships. In conjunction with that, he's won 19 Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association Champion of Champion Awards, and as I've already said, he's a 16-time world solo drumming champion. So it's a massive honor for us to have Jim Kilpatrick here with us today at the Canberra Highland Gathering. Finally, we've got our third judge is Sam Young, doing ensemble. I'll talk more about Sam later, and hopefully we'll have a chance to speak to him. So please put your hands together for the Sydney Thistle Highland Pipe Band, one of the oldest pipe bands in Sydney. Hi, I'm standing here with Matthew McNeil and Ross Colbert, the pipe major and drum sergeant for the Sydney Thistle Highland Pipe Band. Now, you guys have been around a long time. I'm assuming that you haven't been around as long as the band.
No, it's about 100 years. So next year we're actually celebrating our centenary. So yeah, I think we were the first band in Sydney. It came back from the war, I think, First World War, and set it up with there was a Victory March and Anzac Day celebration in the city, and then Thistle was formed then. So no, I'm not 100 years old.
Okay, that's good to know.
Look it, yeah. Yeah, he does. He looks
Now you're looking closer to 100 than him, but no. A little Botox, a little lipo. It's amazing what you can do, huh?
In Australia, we do wonderful things.
But it's hard work for drummers. Drummers age a lot quicker, you know. So.
We're going to put up with pipers.
Oh man, you guys are horrible to each other.
We love each other.
How do you think that went today?
Not too bad. We have played better. Always you play better in the car park than when you come out. But we were pretty happy with it. But I got to say, while we're on camera, Canberra's competition here is fantastic. I mean, it's got to be the best in New South Wales for a long time.
It's actually interesting as well. There's people around. There's things to do and see. It's actually really good. So we're going to promote more of this stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, as immigration from Scotland has kind of changed since the band was formed. It's been a lot tougher to get people out to these events, but I think the Canberra gathering's done a great job of getting everyone here.
Yeah, but it's bloody hot. That's
yeah. It's too hot for you guys, or you guys are used to this?
This is good weather. Up in Sydney, we just had one recently, Knox competition. It must have been late 20s up there, so it was very warm. You know, very warm.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for being here today, and hopefully we'll see you after the medley section. So thank you very much for being here, guys.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys. Next up, we've got a band called the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums. And no, we're not referring to the drink. We're referring to the former members or graduates of Scotch College in Melbourne. Probably one of the most elite, prestigious private schools in Australia, but certainly in Victoria. All of the members of the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums are former members of the school and the pipe band program. Currently, that program's run by Mark Soule. And with instructors including Scott Burrell and various others. I'm hoping you have a chance to meet later on today. But next up, we've got the Old Scotch guys ready to put on a show for you. Their tartan is the Gordon Tartan. Their pipe major is David Forbes, and their drum sergeant is David Diener. They're playing the Athol and Breadalbin Gathering, Molly Connell, and Jock Wilson's Ball. Now, before Old Scotch kind of does their thing, I'd like to speak really quickly and give a quick shout out to Michael and Robin Stubbings, who have been massive supporters of the Canberra Burns Club Highland Gathering. And unfortunately, neither of them can be here today, but they're here with us in spirit. We wish that you could be here. You've been massive contributors to the pipe band scene here in Australia. So Michael and Robin, wish you could be here. It's a shame, but you know that we're thinking about you. Could you please put your hands together for the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums?
Leaving the competition arena, all Scott pipes and drums. They start with the trophy. They can't make it to the floor, but then start with the top. The MSR was Highland, the Golden Ladder, Molly Connell, and Thistle Hall.
Well, that concludes our traditional or March Strathspey and Reel portion. Like I said, we have 5 bands. They're going to go through their 5 March Strathspeys and Reels, and now we're going into the medley section, which is the more modern, or we'll call it innovative element of the Canberra Burns Club Highland Gathering today. Just a reminder that we're supported by the... Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, yay! My lords, my ladies, that was old Scotch. Not new Scotch, but old Scotch. From Melbourne, give them a Canberra round of applause. That was a Queen Anne round of applause. Give them a Canberra round of applause. Hello.
Hi. Who are you?
I'm the official town cry for Canberra and Queen Anne and Bungendore and Braidwood.
You're really annoying.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
That's a town.
But you're Canadian.
yeah, almost American. That's right. Yeah. So, no, pleasure to meet you, town crier. Thanks a lot for hanging out today.
No worries.
Seriously. No, wonderful. You're impressive. You really got something going on there. Yeah.
Microphone.
Thanks a lot, town crier. Man, that was a not so pleasant surprise. So here we go. We're going in the medley section now, starting with the Canberra Celtic Pipe Band once again playing their innovative medley. Just as a reminder, they were formed in 2001. They're self-funded. 75% of the band is under 16 years of age, and on that basis, they are a family-oriented environment. They're in high demand for performances in the community due to their entertaining presentations. You can check out their website at canberraceltic.org. It's Pipe Major Fran Emerson, Drum Sergeant Alec Crawford. They're going to play for you Celine Park, Athol Highlanders, Farewell to Shamrock Shores, Over the Bows of Ballindeloch, Angus Stewart, the Pikeman's March. Put your hands together for the Canberra Celtic Pipes and Drums.
I'm standing here with Fran Emerson and some of her members of the Canberra Celtic Pipes and Drums. Fran, how do you think that went today?
I think we did very well.
So obviously the band has a major focus on youth. How old are all you guys?
I'm 13.
15.
9. 18.
Oh, I'm sorry, Fran. That was rude. That was, you shouldn't. 21. That's what I've been saying for the last decade. Yeah, so Fran and I are right up there together, right? Yeah. Anyways, were you guys happy with all that? Anything you think you could have done better out there?
I think it went pretty well.
Yeah. How about you?
I think we went well, yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about you?
I'm pretty sure we did fine.
All right. How about you?
Pretty good. We just got to learn to calm our nerves a little bit.
It's stressful. People don't realize that once you step in front of those judges or those world champions out there, it actually puts a ton of pressure and stress on you.
These two are dancing for the first are playing for the first time in competition.
This is your first time in competition.
Yes.
You too? Yeah. So when I met you last year, you had never competed yet?
Yeah.
So, wow, were you okay? Were you nervous?
I was nervous, but I think we went well, so.
Right. And how about you?
I was quite nervous.
Yeah, I was nervous in my first competition as well. But I can't thank you guys enough. I know it's not a long drive for all of you, but thank you for supporting the Canberra Burns Club Highland Gathering in close association with the ACT government. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Now, before I introduce the next band, I'd like to give another shout out. I think it's probably, oh no, we're approaching dinner time in New Zealand. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Richard Hawk, a very good friend of the Canberra College and the Burns Club. Richard Hawk is by far one of the world's top bagpipers, certainly one of the top bagpipers in New Zealand. And just recently, he stepped down from his role as pipe major of the Canterbury Caledonian Society for his son Jamie, his oldest son Jamie, to take over as pipe major. Now, I've been given word that Richard has not yet submitted his audition tape to the band. So Richard, if you have time in the, over the, the next couple hours, it'd be really great if you could get your audition tape for the band in. Your son Jamie just wants to make sure that you can cut it for the competition. So get your audition tape in now, Richard. Next up, we've got the Smithfield RSL Pipes and Drums. As I stated earlier, Smithfield is still a very new band, so I don't have a ton of information on them. But Smithfield is actually a suburb of Sydney, and their tartan is the Campbell of Argyle. Their pipe major is Tristan Wilson, and their drum sergeant is Ali Adams. In competition today, they will be playing the Rowan Tree, Heel Row, Offbeat, Snug in a Blanket, some word in Gaelic that I am not going to butcher with this dialect, and the Devil's Staircase. Now, before the band comes on, I want to touch quickly on the connection between Canberra and the Scots. There's a reason why we're here today at the Canberra Burns Club Highland Gathering, and there's a special reason why the Burns Club over there in the distance is in place. The Burns Club was actually established in 1924, and it's actually one of the oldest or longest standing clubs here in Canberra. There's a reason for that. When Canberra was first formed, or when well, let me give it to you this way. Prime Minister Andrew Fisher, it was his government, and he was a Scot from Ayrshire, so just south of Glasgow, for those of you not from Scotland, he took the decision to create Canberra and arranged for Lady Denman, the Governor-General's wife, to announce on 12th of March 1913 where the city would be built and that it would be called Canberra. Robert Campbell was a Scot from Greenock, and for those of you who don't know Greenock isn't far from the airport around Glasgow, or Paisley, Greenock, kind of the same general area, was one of the earliest settlers in Canberra district, acquiring his first property in 1825. And it wasn't called Canberra yet, but he's one of the first settlers to this area of Australia. Campbell called his property Duntroon. And for those of you from Scotland or with Scottish roots, you know that that's the name of the Campbell Castle in Scotland. And this, of course, subsequently became
part of the Royal Military College here in Canberra. He donated the land off later, and that's where the Royal Military College exists today. Now let's go back to the Canberra Burns Club. The Canberra Burns Club, like I said, was one of the first clubs in Canberra, formed around 1924 by a group of expatriate Scots who wanted a congregation point for the considerable Scottish community that existed in Canberra. The Burns Club existed because the Scots came over to actually build Canberra around 1913 to help the city form, and to this day, the Burns Club exists as a congregation point for people of Scottish heritage and now for people from everywhere else as well. Could you please put your hands together for the Smithfield RSL Pipes and Drums from the suburbs of Sydney? I'm standing here with Andrew Iverson from the Smithfield Pipes and RSL Pipes and Drums. Andrew, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, Tom. Good to see you again.
Great to see you as well. Now, I've known Andrew as China almost his entire life, or at least as long as he and I have known each other. Andrew, you've got an extensive background in pipes drums. You want to quickly tell me about your connection to the Smithfield RSL band and how it all kind of connects to the big picture?
Well, I've just restarted, or been asked to restart Sydney University Regiment Pipes and Drums, and the best way to create a pipes and drums is to get a critical mass of people that are interested, and Smithfield RSL is nearby. So we decided to have a civvy band and have some of the pipes and drums from the Army playing that as well.
Because you're involved in the Army as well here in Australia, yeah?
Yeah, certainly. I'm at Sydney University Regiment, and just re-raising their pipes and drums. They've been inactive for 10 years.
Unbelievable. Now, Smithfield's a very new band, am I right? So can you tell me quickly where it came from, how it started?
I'd rather not go into the details of it, but the tumultuous way pipes and drums happen. Left a band and just started a new one. Some people wanted to come across, and then Smithfield RSL generously said, "Do you want some support?" And we took them up on it.
Brilliant. Andrew, I can't thank you enough for being here in Canberra today. And thank you. Yeah, thank you. So next up, we've got the Canberra Burns Club No. 2 band. They're playing the Rowan Tree, Heel Row, Offbeat, Stung in the Blanket. Oh, I'm sorry. Fistful March, Donald Willie and his dog, Jennifer Finlayson, Kirsten McLeod, and the Wise Maid. Here we go.
Hi, I'm standing here with Neil Campbell and Phil Weber from the Canberra Burns Club No. 2 band. Neil, how do you think that went today?
Oh, cracking, Taylor, cracking. Good sound, couple of wobbly bits, but no, cracking.
Yeah, what else is new with the pipe band? Phil, listen, you've been involved in the helping to organize many aspects of this competition. Are you happy with the crowd here today?
Oh, look, it's absolutely extraordinary, Tyler. We've been doing this now for a number of years, and I have absolutely no doubt this is the best turnout we've had, both in terms of the number of bands and the crowd. The crowd is huge.
I couldn't agree more. It's honestly one of the best crowds I've ever seen at a contest in Australia. I've said it many times already, and I say it again. Now, one other quick little thing I wanted to mention about Phil is Phil's company, Pro Bills, has actually donated the prize money for the Grade 2 competition today. You obviously believe in the Burns Club, the Canberra Burns Club Highland Gathering, and in terms of this whole thing, what motivated you to contribute to the event like that? That's massive.
One of the things that we struggle with is that we're a fair way away from where the top bands in Australia are based, and it's a long way for them to come. So what I thought was that it'd be really a useful exercise, a worthwhile exercise, to see what would happen if we put up a reasonable amount of prize money. And the result is that we now have 4 of the top 5 pipe bands in Australia competing here today.
Phil, we can't thank you enough for your support of the college and the gathering. Thank you very much. Neil, thank you very much for being here, guys. Thank you, guys. Next up, we got the Sydney Thistle Pipe Band, formed in 1918 by a group of ex-servicemen. Please put your hands together for the Sydney Thistle Pipe Band from the suburbs of Sydney.
Hi, I'm standing here with Matthew McNeil and Drum Sergeant Ross Colbert from the Sydney Thistle Pipes and Drums. Guys, how do you think that went today? How did it go in the drum corps?
Oh, much better. We had a much better performance in the medley than we did in the MSR. We were very happy with that.
How about in the piping?
Yeah, that was much better. The time we played before, terrible. That was good. That was actually good. Well, we'll see what the judges say. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always down to those three guys with the pens. Guys, can't thank you enough for coming down here to Canberra. Thank you. It's an honor having you here. Thank you. Next up, we got the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums from Melbourne. The old boys from that elite academic institution, a Scots College. Put your hands together for the Old Scots Pipes and Drums. Hi, I'm standing here with David Forbes and David Telford from the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums. Now, guys, listen, David, can you pretty much explain to me how this band came about, how it's connected with the school, or how you're all connected with the school?
Well, it came about probably 10 years ago, this year, in fact, where a group of old I'll say old.
Old.
Yeah. Mature players decided to get their pipes out from under their bed and play again. So a couple of those guys are still playing with us today after 30 years not playing, 40 years in some cases. So that's where it began, and they've worked pretty hard to recruit some of the past players from the school band and our friends and associates.
So I'm assuming that you guys are all CEOs, doctors, surgeons.
There's quite a number in the band.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher.
See, I told everyone that everyone was quite wealthy.
Yeah, they are. I'm the poorest person in the band.
How long have you been in the Old Scotch Pipes and Drums?
2 years. I was with Moorabbin and then I transferred, kind of retired. But David, my best mate, took over the band, so I wanted to play with him.
Wonderful. You'll get to hear Moorabbin under Ian Lyons later, formerly known as Clayton RSL, I believe. Listen, guys, thanks a lot for coming here to Canberra today. Have you had a good time in Canberra?
Oh, so far it's been brilliant. Yeah, really happy with our runs as well. So look, no, couldn't be happier. It's a great festival here, actually.
Yeah,
really good.
It really is. The Canberra Burns Club and the ACT government support this event, so it's a massive deal to have this many people at a Highland Games here in Australia, especially as where how many people have Scottish accents anymore at Scotch? Not many. None, right? But back in the old days, I'm assuming there was a strong Scottish connection.
Well, originally there was,
yeah.
Definitely Presbyterian Church, in fact.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
very strongly Scottish.
Well, they've got Scott Burrell, who's the lead drummer of Hawthorn right now, as a drumming instructor at Scotch, and you'll have a chance to listen to Scott and his drum corps play later on. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. Thank you. Pleasure meeting you, David.
Always need tenor drummers, so you're very welcome.
Apparently I've got a new gig with a microphone. Apparently I'm past my prime. So,
No, we fit you in, don't worry.
well, all right, I've got a band to play with. Thank God. Anyways, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Thank you.